Now that is how you do a follow-up series. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, we are going to be talking about The Witchwood Crown by Tad Williams, which is the first book in the Last King of Ostenard series, which is a follow-up to the phenomenal Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn trilogy. That is one of my favorite series of all time. And I feel like when you have these follow-up series, especially one that comes many years after the first one, Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn was published in the late 80s, early 90s. And so it's been a little bit of time since it's been published. So revisiting sometimes, it's hard to capture the magic of the original, the feel of that world. And so I have found a lot of them hit or miss. Even some follow-up series that are way more closer between sometimes just don't land the same way. So I am so happy to say that from the very first page, I felt like I was back in Ostenard. I felt very much like I was back in the world that I absolutely loved in Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. And yet it's also changed, but in a really good way, because a lot of time has passed here, and characters in the first book that were younger, including our main character Simon, who in Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, he's doing all his coming of age stuff. He's now an adult. He's getting a little bit on the older side for this type of world here. And so things are different. The characters have changed and matured in some ways, and yet still retain the essence of them, but also it just feels like the world and the story, like everything feels like it's matured a little bit. And I don't mean that to say that the original trilogy was immature or anything like that, but when we're looking at the world through a different lens, the lens of a younger character versus looking at the world through the lens of older characters, and there was a really good mix of that in the original trilogy as well. But just Tad Williams does a fantastic job here with really making you feel like you're right back there, while also having it feel like changes have been made in ways that make sense as well. I was a little concerned because I did not like The Heart of What Was Lost very much. I commented it felt like it was necessary setup and like it was going to be important, but I just didn't really care about it, to be honest. And I'm like, this feels necessary, but it was meh. And yeah, it was really important. The events that happened there, I do recommend you read it because it's pretty short anyway, so it doesn't take a lot to get through. And it is important and relevant to this, but it's just, yeah, this was exactly kind of what I wanted. So talking a little bit more about it, because this is picking up after a time has passed. So I'm not going to be, obviously doing anything outright spoilery at this point, but if you've not read the main series, Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, some of the information here could probably be considered spoilers because, this takes place after. But I assume you just to kind of understand that if you're watching the video here. I feel like this is something that, you could technically read this without having read those. I don't know. I feel like you wouldn't get quite the experience, and Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn is just phenomenal. So you should definitely read that anyway. And plus, if you enjoyed Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, you're going to enjoy this. If you didn't really enjoy Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, you're not going to enjoy this. It has that feel that I loved very much and still do, but it has that feel, so it's going to be kind of there. So, but we're picking up years later. Simon is king, Miramel is queen, and they are going through basically the challenges that they have now, which are very different from the challenges they had when they were younger. But they've not heard from the Scythy for a really long time. They have a lot of more domestic issues, sort of with the different kingdoms and countries and places and cities and people that are under their high rule. And then we also have the pending threat of the Norns potentially coming back, essentially becoming a threat. And this is kind of put up there and kind of teed off a little bit in The Heart of What Was Lost. It kind of shows where it's going, but that's kind of the situation that we have here. The thing I think is just really impressive is the characters, like I said, they still have that essence of them, but it's a little bit different because Simon can still be a little bit of a frustrating character sometimes. He still has that little bit of naivete that's not fully gone away, despite the fact that he's much older now. But also, you kind of see it. It's more so like he has the wistfulness sometimes of just remembering when he was younger. And you get that from some of the other characters too. But you also have some characters that were quite old, or because of who they are, they still age differently. going through different things, but just kind of seeing all those interactions with more matured characters I thought was really interesting. But we do still have kind of a young character who's going through some stuff in Prince Morgan, but his struggles are really different. It's more so where can I get the drunkest and have the most fun and take no responsibilities. And I won't go into any more details on the other bits there because I don't want to spoil anything for this book because I think it sets up what happens really well. So we still have that sort of character, but it's different. And there are some other beats here that we're doing some things that are in a way kind of similar. Like we're seeing a lot of legacy characters here. We're learning about what's happened, but it's done in a fantastic way where we're not just getting info dumps. We kind of learn about what's happened in the intervening years as we go. And now I know right off the bat, that doesn't necessarily always work for everyone. I know some people really like to be outright told what's happened, but you're not really going to get that here. It's crafted in, which I think is better, in my opinion. I think it works better, and it's more skillfully written because it's not just being like, this is what happened, okay, now we're going to go. You're finding out as you go along. Some stuff you're just kind of inferring, but Williams does a really great job of bringing it in. And kind of showing you those things. But like I said, there were some similar beats where we see a character or a situation that we've seen, we're kind of seeing it with a different character, but everything's, once again, it's a little bit different, and so it really, really balances extremely well with that familiar feel with different things happening. This also, while Memory Star and Thorn gets a bit darker than I think a lot of people realize or would expect, and same with me, at points, this has a little bit of a darker tone. And I'm not saying like, oh, this is grim, dark, or brutal, or anything like that, because it's not the case at all. But it does just feel like it has a little bit of a darker tone. And one of the things I think that plays into that is Tad Williams just has a knack for doing a fantastic job with building tension. And there is so much here, and it happened a lot in Memory Star and Thorn 2, where there's so much tension. There are all of these things happening. It's almost overwhelming, and you see that in the characters. The characters, you know, sometimes they're overwhelmed. They're just people, and they're flawed people, and so you really just get that bit of realism, I feel like, which does a really good job with it, but also just really makes you feel the stakes, feel invested, feel like you're just like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And you get a lot of that. I also love one of the small things that's kind of silly, but I made me laugh with the first one, is there were a few times throughout Memory Star and Thorn in that series, there'd be a comment where a character would be like, gosh, man, all these names are really difficult to keep up with and keep track of. It just kind of, I feel like a little fun fourth wall break without doing it directly. And there's a line in the Witchwood Crown that does something similar, where a character is just like, gosh, I'm trying to keep up with all of this stuff you're giving me. And so it's just it's a little nod. I feel like it's him kind of playfully poking fun at himself, because he knows there's a lot going on here. But once again, if you're the kind of person who likes the sprawling epic fantasy, lots of characters, lots of complex stuff going on, if you're the reader who enjoyed Memory Star and Thorn, and you're like me, and for some reason you still have not started Last King of Ostenard, seriously, just do it. It is fantastic. I am so excited to continue. I got approved for an e-arc of The Navigator's Children, which is the fourth and final book in Last King. And so that was my kind of kick to finally get moving. So I will be reading Empire of Grass really, really soon, as well as Into the Narrow Dark. I plan to read Brothers of the Wind. I don't know that that one is directly involved or if it's just related. So I will probably read that, but I'm going to be cutting it kind of close to get done anyway. So we will see what all I get through for sure. We'll see, but we'll go from there and find out. But yeah, just really, really impressed with the Witchwood Crown. Really, really enjoyed it, and I'm so excited to continue with this. So those are really my thoughts on this one. Let me know if you read this. Like I said, I feel like I'm behind and a lot of people probably already get into it, but let me know your thoughts on this, or if you agree, disagree with anything, or any things that I should look forward to with the next books as well. Always love to hear from you in the comments. Check the links in the description as always for the Patreon if you want to support what I do, as well as the Wizard of the Enclave Discord if you want to chat books, whether this book, other books, really anything at all. It's a lot of fun and we love to have you. And of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.